This is Radar from the Entertainment Blog coming to another edition of MLB Observations. This time, just the wild card round. So, officially, the Padres upset the Mets because the Mets had obviously over 100 wins, okay? And the Phillies upset the Cardinals because the Phillies were one of the last wild card teams, and the Cardinals won their division. The Rays were technically not really upset, but on paper, they're a much better roster than Cleveland, but Cleveland won. And the Mariners beat the Blue Jays, which is considered an upset because the Blue Jays had a very good season. The Mariners are like one of those questionable teams that they're going to make the playoffs or not this year. So the Padres, still, why is Jurickson Profar batting leadoff when he's never been a good hitter when he was in Texas and Oakland? And he's a man without a position because he's an infielder by trade, not a left fielder. And then Juan Soto is the perfect number 3 hitter. Number 3 hitters are not the guy who's going to hit like 25, he's not getting like 45 bombs, just crush them out of the ballpark or driving 120 runs like he's an RBI guy. He's your all-around hitter who can hit maybe 20 home runs, driving 80 runs, but he has a good eye-on-base percentage. He's got a good average. He takes walks. That's the sort of thing. So he'd be perfect in the 3 spot because then you get the likes of Cronenworth, who's not going to hit 30 home runs or driving 100 batting 5th, and Kim, who's speedy and got contact, so I'd want to be at the bottom or the top of the lineup, not 7th. Okay? Now, I will say this. I'm surprised that the likes of Profar, Nola, and Trish Grisham had clutch hits. That's what happens. You clutches from an unexpected person when you're on a postseason run. And then, the Mets, Jeff McNeil, won the batting title, batting all over the lineup. But if he's not going to bat second because you like Starling Marte there because he can steal like 30 bases when he's healthy, then I would bat Jeff McNeil towards the bottom. 3 through 6, I kind of want Alonso cleanup, and either Vogelbach or Ruff, and then Canna to bat there. Like, those are the power spots in the lineup. Then the Phillies, Schwarber and Hoskins. What is Schwarber? Schwarber, if it weren't for Aaron Judge this year, Ohtani and Trout, people would be like, wow, that's the best home run hitter in all of baseball. But the problem is, he's not a leadoff hitter. He's a bunch of solo shots that are not helping your case. Maurice Hoskins is a 20 to 30 home run guy, not a 2-hitter. Because then you get Gene Segura batting 7th. And most of Gene Segura's career in Arizona and Seattle and with Philly before the last few years is he's a leadoff hitter or a 2-hitter, or you just bat him at the bottom of the lineup. And then Zach Eflin pitching on the bullpen, but hey, the way that Wheeler and Nola pitched, and you traded for Syndergaard, and you have Kyle Gibson, you got yourself a good enough rotation there. Cardinals, Albert Pujols, I saw them batting second a couple of weeks towards the end of the season because you're trying to get him to the career mark of 700, but like, he's a middle-order hitter in his career. Lars Nootbaar is not a leadoff hitter. He's a good hitter. He's been showing some flashes over the last couple of years, but he is not a leadoff hitter or 2-hitter. You bat him towards the bottom. You had a working formula of Tommy Edman at the top and Dylan Carlson second. And speaking of Dylan Carlson, not a center fielder. He's a right fielder. He moved over to right. But right now the Cardinals, after trading Harrison Bader, they just got some scrap guys in the roster who are inexperienced. So you don't want them starting a playoff game. And then Montgomery, I'm saying to myself, like, the Cardinals lost this playoffs. And no offense to Jose Quintana, I'm a huge fan of him. But, like, you want your postseason pitchers to be your best pitcher. And I feel like Waino, based on his lifetime Cardinal role, or the fact that Flaherty has been up for, like, Cy Youngs before, those are the guys I want to go in Game 1 or Game 2. Or you paid all this money for Steven Matz, or Mikolas, or Jordan Montgomery, who was great for, like, most of the second half when you got him at the deadline. Like, that's where I'm like, why are those guys pitching on the bullpen? No offense to the other guys. I wouldn't start them in a crucial playoff game. Yepis is not a great outfielder, so I wouldn't have started him in the outfield. I'll start him in the infield at first base maybe. But you can't. You got Pujols and Goldschmidt. So maybe DH him. Well, you're going to use those spots. And then Hicks, they kind of wasted him this year because at one point he was that fireballing closer. And they're like, we're going to stretch him back out and be a starter. Then he got hurt, and he's just been all over the place. Rays, I've been over the Rays lost 2-1 in the first game, and then like 1-0 in the other game, let's say. So, like, let's just say in those 2 games, the Cleveland and Tampa Bay barely scored 5 runs between the 2 of them. So you're just like, okay, how do I fix that? Well, you don't put Harold Ramirez, the former Cleveland and Marlins player, who's a backup outfielder, who is best suited to be your corner outfield and occasional spot start in center field. I would never bat in cleanup, and I wouldn't wait to the DH spot. You traded for Dave Peralta and Jose Siri because Kiermaier got hurt, and at one point Margot was out. So Margot and Randy Arena are your 2 main outfielders. You start Jose Siri in center field, push those guys to the corner, and you DH David Peralta. Or got all these infielders on your roster, like Brujan, Walls, Master Boney, you name it. You maybe start one of them at third base, and you have Yandy Diaz DH, because Yandy Diaz, like G-Man Choi, is one of the only power hitters on the team, and Wander Franco has a pop, so I'm glad they batted him second. But Ranzarena, he may be your best all-around hitter, so he's okay batting third. But again, Harold Mear's not a cleanup hitter. My goal is a speed guy, not a sixth hitter. And then Paredes also batted sixth. That's a super utility guy. You don't bat those guys sixth. And then Kluber pitched out of the bullpen because of the next inning game. That's fine. I would have started him as one of the playoff games, but that's just me because of the veteran leadership. Cleveland, again, Oscar Gonzalez is a rookie. It's a lot of pressure in batting cleanup. And Owen Miller's on a DH. He's a super utility guy. If you would DH Oscar Gonzalez or even Naylor, I've been like, okay, that makes sense. Those are middle-order hitters. But they DH this Brennan rookie guy. Again, wouldn't DH a rookie who just came out like a week ago more than anything else. Jimenez batting sixth again. He's had an all-star year, but he's on a power RBI spot. He's more of a speed contact guy. And Ahmed Rosario, again, is not in a two-hitter spot because, obviously Miles Straw is no longer leadoff hitter and Kwan's the two-hitter. But again, Rosario's not a speed and contact guy, and he's not the world's greatest shortstop. Jimenez and him should switch. And then the Mariners. Julio Rodriguez is going to win Rookie of the Year. I've been over this. But he is not a leadoff hitter. He's had some success batting second, third, fourth, fifth. I would try to give the likes of, why did you go out? Why you had Mitch Haniger back and healthy. You traded for Suarez. You traded for Winker. Okay? Ty France and Abraham Turro and Carlos Santana are slugging corner infielders. Those are the type of guys that, you know what? I want those guys batting 3 through 7. So maybe you put Julio Rodriguez 5th or 6th, but that's just me. You don't want to put this amazing player bottom of the lineup. You got these veterans to support him, okay? Ty France, he's not a two-hitter. You got Adam Frazier. I would love to put Adam Frazier second and not bat him 7th or 6th because that's not where he belongs. Just give you an RBI or power there. And Dylan Moore, again, a utility infielder, not an outfielder. And then I did like that Frazier and J.B. Crawford. If you're not going to bat him 1 and 2, you bat him 8 and 9 because that's the other parts of the lineup for those speed guys. Cal Riley, he's a Mitch Garver this year, hitting more than 20 home runs at the catcher spot, and nobody saw that coming. But he's not a cleanup hitter. I just went over this. What's one of Winker, Suarez, even Haniger, and Santana if you're not going to use them? Okay? And then the Blue Jays. George Springer over this. He's not a center fielder or a leadoff hitter. He is so valuable as an all-around player that if he's in right field, he'd probably win a Gold Glove. Playing every day. It would keep him more healthy. DH him a couple times a week. Keep him healthy because this team doesn't have an actual DH. Because Alexander Kirk is not a DH. He's had an amazing year, but he's not an everyday player. And he's not a cleanup hitter, nor is Jansen a DH. Jansen's your starting catcher. You bat him at the bottom of the lineup. Okay? They fixed it where Bo Bichette is back to batting second instead of like 4th or 5th. And Vlad is batting 3rd. I obviously would rather have George Springer bat 3rd because he's more all around. And have Vladdy Guerrero bat cleanup like his father would do. And then go 5th with Teoscar Hernandez and Matt Chapman 6th and Gurriel 7th when healthy. That's what I would probably do. And again, Springer, guess what? He got in this collision with Bo Bichette. I'm just going to tell you this. The dude has not been healthy the few years he's been in Toronto. For his sake and the fact that he's getting older, stop playing in center field, okay? Thanks for listening to another edition of MLB Observations for the 2022 season Wild Card Round. Stay tuned for the next divisional round video when it's over, along with divisional predictions. So far, I will just say this. I was wrong. A little bit with my heart. The Mets got embarrassed by the Padres. The Cardinals got embarrassed by the Phillies. And as I said, Cleveland just barely scored more runs than Tampa Bay. And the Mariners came back from like this epic comeback in Game 2. And yeah, so at least say you got a fighting chance when it's a 3-game set and not a 1-game series. See you guys next time.